Welcome students to the series on Introduction to Constitution. This video aims to cover the provision for separation of judiciary from the executive. So, what is the provision for separation of judiciary from the executive? It is mentioned in Article 50 of the Directive Principles of State Policy of the Indian Constitution, which says that the state shall take steps to separate judiciary from the executive and public services of the state. This provision is based on the doctrine of separation of powers to avoid concentration of powers. So, separation of judiciary from executive is based on the idea of separation of powers. What is separation of powers? Separation of powers implies the division of legislative, executive, and judicial functions of the government among separate and independent bodies. So, in Indian Constitution, we have three branches of governance working together. That is the legislative, the aspect of Indian government that works on making laws, the executive, that the ones who undertake the execution of the laws made by the, for example, the parliament or the state assemblies, and the third is the judicial function, wherein the any law contested by between states or between citizens of the state, there's a judiciary which adjudicates the cases or takes matters, legal matters, into their own hands. So there is a very principled separation of powers in Indian context, and this is required because in a situation where all these three branches of the government come together, will ensure concentration of power and will can result in dictatorship at some point. It won't be a democracy anymore. So such a separation, it has been argued that it limits the possibility of arbitrary excesses of government, since the sanction of all three branches is required in making, executing, and administering of the laws. So, without such a separation of power between the judiciary, the executive, or the legislative, there is a chance or a possibility of a government being very autocratic, being very authoritative, and can impinge upon the rights of citizens, can determine or diminish the human rights of its citizens, and it won't be a democracy anymore without the separation of powers. So to ensure that there is a separation of powers, one has to separate the judiciary from the executive, and India in principle works on that aspect through by providing it through detective principles of state policy. To further elaborate on what the doctrine of separation power, to avoid concentration of power, you have to look back in the olden days. So, in the olden days, a king was the executive and judiciary of a state. He had near unlimited powers to govern the nation with no one to object or fault him for lapses in governance or any injustice in society. One could not make a case against the king, one could not critique the king. So, if someone spoke against him, he could punish the opposition in any way he liked, thus curbing any liberty or freedom a person should have in form of human rights. He was the supreme in his powers and not accountable to anyone. This enabled a system that was unequal and undemocratic. Therefore, modern democracies follow the principle of separation of powers to ensure that no branch of government can exercise unlimited powers over nation that can infringe upon the rights and duties of its institutions and citizens. This doctrine has led to the origin of separation of power of judiciary and executive that India follows. So, by ensuring the independency of both executive and judiciary. So, under the Indian Constitution, the executive powers are with the president, the legislative powers are with the parliament, and judicial powers with the judiciary. That is the Supreme Court and the subsequent branches of levels of Supreme Courts. Executive cannot unilaterally remove court judges or take away their privileges or duties without a special majority. Similarly, judiciary cannot interfere in matters of executive unless it relates to matters of constitutional laws. So, if we study the constitutional provisions carefully, it is clear that doctrine of separation of powers has not been completely accepted in its strictest sense in India. In India, not only there is a functional overlap, but there is also a personal overlap. The Supreme Court, for example, the Supreme Court has power to declare any law passed by the legislature or the parliament, and the actions taken by executive void and null if they violate any provision of the constitution and the law passed by the legislature. In case of executive action, the executive can affect the functioning of judiciary by making appointments to the office of chief justice and other judges. This functional overlap may go against separation of power, but it is necessary for a system to have checks and balances to counter concentration of power in any given branch of government. It provides for a democracy within democratic institutions that govern us. So, the Supreme Court, for example, if there's a functional overlap, Supreme Court can declare any law or legislation passed by the Parliament as null and void, or as violating the Constitution if it feels that it goes against the Constitution. The interpreter of the Constitution, the power to interpret the Constitution lies with the judiciary. Meanwhile, the parliament also can overlap in terms of its functions with the judiciary by appointing Supreme Court judges, or even impeaching them for that matter with the special majority. So it's not exactly separate, and it is functional because this strict separation of powers can hamper the functioning of the country, can hamper the governance of a country, because then any branch of the governance, such as the judiciary, the executive, or legislative, can take control of the government. And to have a democracy within these three branches, it is necessary to have a system of checks and balances that Indian Constitution provides for. So the makers of this constitution were aware of the ill effects of giving judicial and executive powers to the same branch in the government, and hence provided for this provision in the Directive Principles of State Policy under Article 50. So it is the duty of the state to separate the judiciary from the executive. So it is the duty of the state to protect the judiciary, maintain its independence, as well as maintain the independence of the executive, so that the judiciary does not interfere in the functioning of the executive. So this has been a short summary of the provision of Directive Principles of State Policy on separation of judiciary from the executive under Article 50, which makes it a duty of the state to control concentration of political power to bring about a just and efficient governance system. Thank you.